Hello and welcome to the Bankers Masterclass series in association with Mashreqbank on embracing digital transformation within retail banking. My name is John Everington. I'm the Middle East and Africa editor at The Banker, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Subroto Som, who is Group Head of Retail Banking at Mashreq. Som, thank you very much indeed for joining us today.
Thanks, John. Good to be here.
Perhaps let's start off looking at the situation for the banks at a macro level within the UAE and the region at this point. There's been a bit of a slowdown within the economies of this region, and the UAE in particular. It'd be very interesting to hear your take on what's happening with the banking sector and how the banks are responding to these new conditions.
I'll start by saying that this slowdown is not specific to UAE or the region. I think this is a phenomenon you're seeing across the globe, primarily driven by global demand shortage or trade barriers and things like that. So we do see less economic activities. We have an impact, we see the impact of that in region too. We're seeing two, three things. One, there's some consolidation that's happening in the region, which is a good news for the industry and for the consumer. The traditional challenges remain the same. The rising cost of compliance for very right reasons, asset margin getting squeezed, lower demand of banking products, slowing trade and slowing economic activity. But I think amongst all of these, particularly for the retail and the small business, what is more exciting is in the recent times, what's happening in the space of retail banking transformation through digital. And I think it's going to transform this industry and this space significantly over the next 3 to 5 years. And this is a much bigger story than all the negativities that we keep hearing that you mentioned.
Indeed. The transformation has been underway for some time and is starting to accelerate now. In this difficult climate, is that going to weigh on profitability in the short term? How is it going to impact banks' performance?
The technology has been there for quite some time. But what we see in the today's technology, it's much cheaper, it's reliable, it's scalable, it's easy to integrate, and it makes it less expensive for banks to go on to this transformation. That's one part. So technology, cost reduction, better quality, scalability, driven factors are one. But I believe the bigger factor is the factor of the consumer's acceptance. And I think it's the mobility in the digital space that has made the change. Today, people are more comfortable doing financial transactions on the mobile phone and opening new accounts, doing financial transactions, and responding to the various messages and offers that banks kind of send to the consumer. I think it's the adoption of the mobile-driven digital banking and the scalability and the low cost of the new technology that is driving the rapid growth of the digital banking. Most banks have had some form of online and digital banking for the last 3 or 4 years. I think a time has come when you just can't do the digital on the edges and remain relevant to the consumer. A time has come to make some significant changes in the ways you work, the ways you organize your technology, and ways you invest in bringing the new technological solutions within the bank. Now coming to your question about does that mean that it's changing the bottom line of the banks? I think, yes, there's no doubt that we have to invest in technology, we have to invest in new people, we have to invest in the transformation. But the scale of them today is much lower than in the past. Also, many of them are available as services as opposed to capital investment. And more than that, you are reaping the benefits of the new technology in terms of reduced cost of acquisition, reduced people that you need in your businesses. So the payback periods are shortening. So in short, yes, there's an investment. But if you look at a 3 to 5 year period, the benefits far outweigh the investments that are required.
You mentioned the small business banking offering as well, and particularly in these more challenging economic times, the small businesses are very much the ones who are affected and are very much on the front line and feel the impact of such uncertainty. How is technology being used to service this segment? I mean, how's that changing from the banks?
Mashreq is in the process of launching NeoBiz, which is our digital banking offer for small business. And I think it focuses on a couple of things. One, people often think lending is the biggest need of a small business. It is clearly a need, but transacting is a bigger need. And I think what digital banking in the small business place does, it allows for more efficient payments, either to its vendors or payments from its people that they sell the products. So in the payment space, that is very good. I think it also allows for integration with the other activities of the small business, be it inventory management, be it supplier and vendor management, be it information and tracking and the cash management. So I think digital banking in that space allows and brings more offers and opportunity to a small business. A small business doesn't have the advantage of scale and balance sheet to demand better pricing, but a more efficient process gives them, brings some of the advantages. So I think this new digital way of transacting for small business is a big plus for them.
Thank you very much, Som. In the second chapter of this series, we'll be looking at digital transformation in practice within the banks here in the UAE and what the challenges and opportunities are in this particular market.